And how many of you use your smartphone as a microphone? Okay, so this is an option that are available to many people. They have the option of activating the microphone on their smartphone and using that as if it were a remote microphone. So this morning, Carol, we were looking at her app and we're looking at how to adjust the telecoil balance. And I have never had Oticon hearing aids and I couldn't find that on her app. So I don't know whether the person set it up in all telecoil. I'm assuming that they didn't activate the option for Carol, so she's going to go back. But while we were doing that, I'm looking through the settings and I found, oh, here was an option to use her smartphone as a microphone and she hadn't activated it. So I'm letting people know that that's a really wonderful feature if you have it in your phone, because the microphone on your smartphone is a whole lot bigger than the microphone in your hearing instrument. As you progress through your hearing loss journey, it's very important for everybody to really know that hearing loss is a spectrum disorder and one size does not fit all. Our large community includes people who are deaf, who their primary mode of communication is American Sign Language. And for people who self-identify as a part of that community, one always uses a capital D to refer to them because it is a unique culture. It is like being French, being German, being Italian, being Japanese, being Korean, being American. All of those words have a capital first letter. The second group is late-deafened. And our chapter has many late-deafened people. I consider myself late-deafened, and generally people who have cochlear implants refer to themselves as being late-deafened. And today we have I think there are 4 of us. If you raise your hand if you have a cochlear implant. Raise your hand if you have a cochlear implant. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 5 of us today. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm sure all of us would be more than happy to talk to you. Then there are people with severe hearing loss. Now what's happened is the qualifications for getting cochlear implants keeps going down. So more and more people who had severe hearing loss are now getting cochlear implants. So when you're in the severe hearing loss group, you really depend on assistive listening systems, you depend on additional hearing technology, and I'll tell you about why and some of the limitations of hearing instruments in a few minutes. And then we have people with mild to moderate hearing loss. A person with mild to moderate hearing loss, it's an inconvenience, it's a difficulty. They still hear the majority of the surround sound around them. They may have a high frequency loss and it's just amplifying a couple of frequencies. That's really a wonderful place to be in your hearing loss journey. And the Hearing Loss Association of America advocated to get our laws changed so that we now have over-the-counter hearing aids for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. Now, these over-the-counter hearing aids that you read about in the newspaper, you see them around, Costco even sells them now. They are not for any hearing loss that's greater than moderate. So if you have that, they probably won't work for you. And that also includes the new criteria for AirPods. AirPods are now considered over-the-counter hearing aids, but it's only for mild to moderate loss. That happened, I think it was in November of this year, November, December. One of the biggest myths about hearing loss is that that hearing instruments fix your hearing just like glasses do for vision. And that is not true. Hearing instruments are helpful. If you need them, you really can't do without them, but they have limitations. And unfortunately, most hearing healthcare providers, whether they're an audiologist or a hearing instrument specialist, don't tell people that when they get their hearing aids. hearing instruments. So there are all kinds of theories about that. One theory, which is gracious, is that they feel that there's so much to learn, they wouldn't want somebody to be discouraged and not get the instrument they need if they tell them that they're not 100% perfect. So they just avoid mentioning that. Some people believe that they purposely don't mention it because they don't want people not to buy hearing instruments. So for whatever reason that is, the majority of people who we have ever had come to one of our chapter meetings are not aware of the limitations that their hearing instruments have. What are some of the obstacles that you have with hearing instruments? The first one is the distance from the sound source. And this is the piece that they do not tell you about. Unless you have mild to moderate hearing loss, the effective range of hearing instruments, particularly hearing aids, is about 6 feet. So 6 feet is not very far. I put my arm out, you put your arm out, and that'll be about 6 feet. So when people don't know that, they're 8 feet, 10 feet away, and they can't understand why they're struggling. Well, it's beyond the range of the microphones working well. So you need to come closer, and then they work. So obviously, if you have your back to somebody, the sound is going the other way as well. It's not going toward the person. So there's these limitations of the distance and the positioning from the sound source. Obviously, it's always better if you face the person who you're talking to, in addition to having them easily be able to read your emotions and other information on your face and with your body language. They can also augment what they're hearing with speech reading, lip reading, and everybody does it to some degree. Now you can take classes for that, and a whole group of us took them at Takara. Gosh, was that 8 years ago now, maybe? I mean, the time went by so fast because of the pandemic, and we all learned new things to look for in speech reading and how you can tell with people. Just ask anybody you know to close their eyes when they watch TV. How much better or how much worse do they hear when they can't see the person talking? The next thing that's problematic is reverberation or echo. So we're trying to hear the sounds of speech, and if they're distorted because the room has bad reverberation or echo, that makes it really difficult and almost impossible for us to discern what we want to hear. Also, everybody here probably really knows competing background noise. It's the bane of our existence. And our great hope is with AI and what's beginning to happen with top of the line premium hearing aids, that the AI will be able to make adjustments to the background sound to eliminate this problem for us. So I have 2 cochlear implants, so I can't try the new hearing aids that have AI in them, and the cochlear implants don't have that yet. So if anybody tries one of the new hearing aids with that, we'd really like to know what your experience is so that you could come and talk to us about that. There are also 2 wonderful resources available that review all of the hearing aids. One is called Hearing Tracker, and the other one is Dr. Cliff. Both are highly respected, and they now have current reviews of the premium hearing aids that were released just recently in the last few months with the new AI background noise feature. Face masks, and I recently had a rude awakening again. I needed to have some medical tests done, and in our county, they've been required to wear face masks, I guess, for months. Well, as soon as somebody puts a face mask on, my understanding decreases like quite a bit. I cannot understand anybody well enough in a medical setting with a face mask on. So that was a rude awakening again. And I'd like to remind everybody, your medical appointments, ask for clear face masks. and the degree of your hearing loss. The more severe your hearing loss gets, the more difficult it is for your instrument to work well, because what happens is in your cochlea, there are little hairs on there. And what the hairs do is that they move the sound to your hearing nerve to send it up to your brain for you to actually understand it. Well, the more severe your hearing loss gets, those hairs completely die. So then there's nothing to move that sound on. So if you go initially, a long time ago, if you went to a concert and everything was really loud and you left the concert and you couldn't hear, well, the reason you couldn't hear was because the hairs on your cochlea were exhausted, but they weren't completely damaged yet. So after a period of time, they were able to stand up again and assist you with the sound. So as your hearing loss progresses and you get to severe to profound, you have lots of hair cell areas that have dead hair cells. So there's no way that they can give you enough amplification for you to be able to understand the sound. So, the idea is you're thinking, oh, well, it shouldn't matter. They should just be able to keep turning it up and up and up as loud as possible, and you would always be able to hear. That's not, understand, that's not true. So we've learned that we have a limitation of 6 feet, about 6 feet. So we can have hearing instruments, and those aren't enough. We need something else. We need additional assistance. And currently, right now on my side, I'm seeing, let me see if I can turn that off. Yeah. Oh, well, I turned off the wrong thing. Oh, well, I don't see where that is. Let me move this up. Maybe I'll move it up. Even with hearing aids or cochlear implants. So what else might we use if we need additional assistance? The general broad term is called Hearing Assistive Technologies, and the acronym for that is HAT. So anytime you're with any hearing loss community group and somebody talks about HAT, what they're talking about is additional supplemental technology that you use to enhance your hearing instruments. There are basically 2 categories. One is proprietary, which means that it's made by the manufacturers. So in this sense, as you're looking at this slide, the major manufacturers for hearing instruments are Phonak, Oticon, Resound, Cigna, Starkey, and Widex. Many people are surprised to find out that there aren't more manufacturers. Some of these manufacturers have more than one brand under their company name, but they're still the manufacturers. And what they have done is, there's later in my presentation, I'm showing you a sample of a remote microphone. Other than Phonak's Roger system, everybody's remote microphone only works with their hearing instrument. So Oticon's remote microphone only works with Oticon, Resound only works with Resound, Cigna, Stark, they only work with their own products. That's why it's called proprietary. The same thing is true with cochlear implants. There are only 3 cochlear implant companies: Advanced Bionics, which I have, Cochlear, and Med-El. And there are 3 companies that make bone conductive devices: Cochlear, Oticon, and Med-El. And as I speak, new products are always being created. So if I missed something on this slide, it wasn't intentional. It was just that I can't keep up with all the technology all the time. So then there are third-party products. Third-party products are generally much cheaper than proprietary products. But unfortunately, most of them don't work as well. So if you can afford the proprietary assistive technology, I would ask your hearing healthcare professional if you could try it before you buy it. They should be able to let you try that before you buy that, or ask if I don't like it, can I bring it back? So what are some of the things that could be considered assistive listening devices? When we're talking about HAT, in this sense, listening devices for HAT, we're only talking about one-to-one communication. So that's different than one-to-many. In this room right now with the hearing loop, I'm communicating one-to-many to all of you, and you can all hear it at the same time. So I have on an ear set microphone. Everything that I'm saying is picked up by that microphone, and it's sent through the PA system and the hearing loop system. One-to-one is just one person to one person. So the pocket talker is a personal amplifier, and I really think that everybody needs it in their to-go kit. And it is, I don't have my pointer out here. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, the white device, that is a pocket talker. And this is Pocket Talker 2.0. And the reason I think that everybody needs it in their emergency to-go kit, if something happened to you, we have a fire, we have an earthquake, we have something else, you leave your hearing aids, fly off, you're running out of your home in a hurry, you forget them, something happens after you have left and they're damaged, you'll have no way to communicate. And you could communicate with a pocket talker. A pocket talker also works to reduce the sound to noise ratio. This picture doesn't have the microphone on top. It comes with a little ball microphone. You can also attach it's a long microphone like this that you could hold out like how a newscaster does with a microphone, and they come with extension cords. So you could be in a small meeting even, if you felt comfortable enough, asking a person to speak into the pocket talker to help you. The next one over, that black small piece that looks like a rectangle, is a remote microphone by one of the major manufacturers. Some of the remote microphones can also connect wirelessly or wired to an FM assistive listening system in a large room. Some of them are for hearing instruments that don't have telecoils, and they have a built-in telecoil. And others are just remote microphones to use in a variety of settings where you have difficulty. And how you might do that is, let's say you're going for a walk with your spouse or your partner or somebody, and you're walking side by side, and you have problems understanding them. If you give them the partner microphone, and most of them have a clip, some of them have a cord that you can attach to that via the clip. They just put it around their neck, and you go for your walk, and it's streaming directly from the partner mic to your hearing instrument. It can be very effective. So one of the couples I met recently, they had all of these technological tools, and they didn't have any idea what they did. I mean, they were still in the box, they were still there. And I had a couple of visits with them, and when we used the partner mic, when we demoed the partner mic, the eyes were as big as saucers for both of them because of how much that could really change their lives easily. In the bottom left-hand corner is a personal FM system. And personal FM system, you see the two boxes in the bottom. One kind of has a silver piece on it and one's black. One's a transmitter and one's a receiver. So theoretically, you could have an FM system like this, and you could have the receiver on yourself, a person who theoretically could be an exercise class or yoga class or meditation. They would have the transmitter with a earphone, and whatever they would be saying there would be being transmitted wirelessly to you. The picture in the bottom right-hand corner is the Phonak Roger system, which is generally considered the premier hearing assistive technology. It works with almost every device. They have adapters. One of them is a universal pin. It's about this big. It can plug into the bottom of some of the microphones like the one above it, so that if you didn't have a Phonak product, that it would work with you. They are very, very expensive. So the one that's the tall, thin piece is called the Roger On, and it's about $2,000. So the piece about it that is for all of us that have it, works wonderfully. We love it, but it's terrifying because it's so small, so easy to leave it someplace, so easy to, I mean, you really have to keep your wits about you with your hearing assistive technology add-on pieces. So the difference between the microphone and the Roger system is the microphone really only has one or two microphones in it, and the microphones don't change. So you wear it sitting straight up, the microphone is at the top, it picks up your voice. The Roger system, depending on how you use it, the microphones change as to which is active. You can do it in a pointing mode and it does one thing. You set it on a table and it does something else. It's really quite phenomenal. So then we're into assistive listening systems. Hearing loss is a disability covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act and other state and federal civil rights laws. To not provide communication access to people with hearing loss is the same thing as not allowing Black people to sit in the front of the bus or at restaurants or any other civil rights violations. Most of us with hearing loss do not fully embrace that concept. We don't really take it in that that's how big of a deal it is. And I personally believe, as a whole group, we have a real problem with that because we're the stepchild of the disability movement. I cannot tell you how many places I've advocated, and the vendor is saying, you're the first person who ever asked for this. Jim and I were advocating in Benicia at a place, and Jim belongs to Carquinez Villages, and the Villages is a group that helps people stay in their homes. And so potentially they could provide you with a ride to a healthcare appointment or for food or something like that. So some people from the villages who were members came to test this system. They had no idea that these systems even existed to ask for them. And because nobody's demanding them, which is our right, they're ignoring us. We have to stop doing that. If there's one thing that I'm asking you to do this year, to find the courage to start asking for what you need. There are 3 types of assistive listening systems. One is the hearing loop, which is what we have in this room. You have a telecoil in your hearing device, and you walk into the space. You either press the button on your device. I like to get out my app so that I can adjust the surround sound to the telecoil, and I'm good to go. I don't have to, if the battery on my phone dies, it's because I screwed up. If I go to a venue and I'm using an FM or an infrared and I have to get a receiver, I can't tell you how many times prior to an event that had one of those systems, I asked them, please make sure the batteries are live. Please make sure the batteries are fresh. And then in the middle of the poignant part of why I attended something, the battery dies. So you don't have to depend on somebody else. You don't have to self-identify because you're wearing something around your neck, something on your head. You don't have to leave your driver's license. Frequently, you have to leave something because, you know, these things cost money. They don't want them to just walk out the door. Oh, I'm seeing them here. Oh, they're frozen. Alan, are they frozen on your side too? Hold still. Thank you. Let's see if we can get them back. So hi, Carol. I turned off my screen sharing and oh, there they popped up again. So let's go back and share my screen. Okay, so Carol, can you hear me now? And are the captions going to run again? Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. So when I'm looking this way, I can't, I can't really, I'm not paying attention. So assistive listening systems basically are required to work for everyone. And who's everyone, right? Huh? Hang on a minute. We had a request to go back to a previous slide, so hang on a minute. Maybe we're going back. Oh. There we go. Okay, so the reference was they wanted to hear more, people in the audience wanted to hear more about the other assistive listening systems, and the rest of that slide got skipped. Okay, so you know about hearing loops. The most common system in our area is FMs. And the reason people installed FMs is because they're the cheapest. And they don't necessarily work. So it's our job, if they have an FM system, they're not in violation of the law. But if they have an FM system that doesn't work, they are. And they have to do whatever it takes to make that system work. So in the past year, I've been advocating at assistive living facilities in our county. And one of them in particular had an FM system, but nobody knew how to use it. Nobody knew anything about what they needed for the people who live there, how they needed to connect it really with their PA or anything like that. So I helped them with that, and it works pretty well there. So since it works pretty well there, there's no onus for them to have to change systems. Now, if the system didn't work, that's a different story. Okay, so the Gallaghers advocated in Danville this year for the city council chambers and some other things, and a city official decided, without consulting any people with hearing loss, without consulting the end users, what they were going to install because they liked it. Didn't have anything to do with what we liked or whether we would use it. And I haven't been to check it. Have you been to check it? Yeah. So let's go in the new year. Okay, we'll make a date. And then we can give them feedback. So when we have things, say if people then, so we all haven't gone, I think it reopened in October. So you need to go and try these systems. If they don't get feedback that it's not working, whatever, they can keep thinking, oh, this was fine what we did. This choice was a good choice. An infrared system, there are not very common in our area. And each of the systems has pluses and minuses. One of the things about an infrared system is everybody's familiar with infrared. It's what the most remote controls for your TV gun are. So if somebody stands up in front of that remote control, it interrupts the light, and so it doesn't work. But infrared is very good for security. So sometimes some people have chosen to use it in areas where you might think that security was very important. All of these need to be, for those of us with telecoils, everybody needs a receiver and a connector. The connector would be a neck loop. In 2010, when the US Access Board revised the ADA standards, they mandated that all assistive listening systems have to have neck loops so that they're hearing aid compatible. So if you ever go someplace and you ask for a neck loop and they look at you like deer in the headlights, which is going to happen, you say, oh, you're required to, your system is required to be hearing aid compatible. You need to get neck loops. Let me know when you get them so I can come back again, because I'm not coming back if you don't have them. So there's also a whole place here about, you know, if they want your support, which is your dollar, which is money, I mean, you have to be able to enjoy the event. So that's some power that you have over them if you don't want to sue. Assistive listening systems need to work for everybody. Needs to work for somebody with no hearing instrument. That means that you would use, with all of the systems, a receiver plus a headphone. A person who has a hearing instrument and no telecoil with all of the systems has to use a receiver and headphones. A person who has a hearing instrument plus a telecoil, if the assistive listening system was a hearing loop, you don't need anything. If it's an FM or an infrared, you have to get a receiver and a connector, and the connector is a neck loop. So obviously, from a stigma perspective, you know, we don't want to wear a sign this big saying, I have a disability of hearing loss with great big headphones on, right? I mean, today I don't really care so much because I'm really out there about my issue. But for most people, that's the case. So there's a headphone, and this is one that has a big earmuff. So this kind of big earmuff frequently can work okay with hearing aids. The smaller ones, like the ones that we have, don't work well with hearing aids. You could use an earbud if you didn't have hearing aids, or that's a neck loop. I want everybody to know that you're not to take out your hearing instrument to use any of these systems. Your hearing instruments, your hearing aids were designed to give you the amplification that you need. These systems augment your hearing aids. And once again, this is, we're going to repeat the same thing over again because everybody needs it. And if it's boring, just tell me later. And then I'll have a better idea. Okay, so a hearing loop needs a telecoil to not have to use a receiver and a connector. How do you use it? You switch to the telecoil program, either on your instrument via the change in the programs or via the app on your smartphone. And the reason that the app on your smartphone can really be the savior for you, some of the new hearing aids only have one button. When they used to have two buttons, it was easier. One was to change programs and one was for volume. But even then it could get confusing because you're changing programs and you're not really sure, even though it's beeps, 1, 2, or 3 beeps, which program you're in. Well, if you use the app on your smartphone, it's written out in words, it says telecoil. So you don't have to worry about, am I in the TV program? Because it doesn't say TV. When you want to use the TV program, it says TV. And when you want to use the telecoil program, you select the telecoil program so you can read it. And in the apps, so I had hearing aids that you could not adjust the balance between the surrounding sound and what comes through the hearing loop. So with all of these systems, everybody has to talk into a microphone. You only hear what comes through the microphone. And today my microphone is this tiny little piece here, which I request here because I like it, because you can see my face. You can augment what I'm saying by lip reading me. You couldn't adjust your telecoils. So I had 3 telecoil programs. I had one program that was 100% telecoil. I had one program that was telecoil in mic, and I had a third telecoil program for the telephone. But as our technology advanced, all the hearing instruments almost have apps today, and because it's all digital connected to your phone, you just take a slider and adjust how much surround and how much telecoil you want. the ratio between those two. With an FM or an infrared and IR system, people with telecoils, once again, you have to switch to the telecoil program. You have to connect the receiver to the neck loop and see the audio port, the audio plug on the bottom of that neck loop. It plugs into the top of a receiver. And I'm gonna use a hearing loop receiver as an example. All of the receivers have ports on them. And the neck loop, so here's a headphone. It plugs into the audio port. You take the audio port off and you plug the neck loop into the same place. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense? Okay. With an FM or an infrared system, you have no hearing instruments. You have to check out the FM receiver or infrared receiver and connect it to a headphone or earbuds. So if you're using an FM or an infrared system without a telecoil, it's difficult to wear hearing instruments with headphones. I talked about that before. So one of the reasons is the microphones for the instruments are on top. It's not like the connector sits on your ear like this. If it sat on your ear like this, it would be better because it would be facing the microphone. Another problem that people have is sometimes they have feedback. And a lot of vendors didn't like that, you know, because other patrons were complaining because people had feedback. And I want to note once again, it's on this slide. Do not take your hearing, if somebody tells you take your hearing instrument out, do not take your hearing instrument out. Your hearing instrument is a medical device programmed to your hearing loss. So we've covered the assistive listening systems, which are auditory. Now I'm going to talk about some additional systems that you may still need to be able to effectively understand. The more severe your hearing loss becomes, assistive listening systems aren't always enough. Many of us prefer assistive listening systems and captions. And in all of our meetings, we have both. So we have them both on, Zoom doesn't have it because people are in their own homes, they control that. But in our meeting here, we have in the room has an assistive listening system that's being augmented with live captioners by a CART provider. So it turns out, and I need to tell you, you're going CART, what's CART? CART is Communication Access Real-Time Translation. It's like a it's like a court reporter. They have a machine that's similar to that to give you some image about what that looks like. They hear what's being said and they type it in. That's considered the gold standard for captions. It's a live person. They tend to be much more accurate. They can be in person, which we used to have, or they can be remote. Today we have remote captions, and I don't even know where our captioner is. So they connect to our Zoom call via the internet, and they send the captions to Zoom and to us in the room that gets projected on the screen. One of the advantages of remote captions is it's easier to get a captioner because there aren't that many captioners around. We have a limitation of the number of captioners. It also tends to be a little less expensive. Then we have automatic speech recognition called ASR, which is relatively the new kid on the block and actually been a really big game changer for me personally with my smartphone. Being able to use ASR captions on my smartphone in small meetings when we have our chapter presentation meeting, which is once a month on Wednesday, and Zohair hosts the meeting. We use automatic speech recognition captions in that. There are 5 of us. So to pay the fees for a remote captioner would make those meetings pretty expensive. And this way we are all able to benefit from captions and not have it be so expensive. And also there are closed and open captions, and you're familiar with this, like on your TV. If the captions are embedded in the image and you can't turn them on and off, that's one thing. And if you have the option of turning them on and off, that's another one. This image that you're seeing here, the picture on the screen, was taken from an HLA convention. All of the workshops, all of the meetings have in the past have all had hearing loops plus CART. And that's what it looks like, a rolling screen. So we could actually have our captions like that in this room, but we'd have to have an extra projector and an extra screen. And this room doesn't have that. So we have opted to do this. We think it's easier. If somebody else would prefer to do something else, you could. We could also give you the address for, they're actually streaming in the cloud someplace else, and you could look at them on your phone. I personally think that it's difficult to look on your phone and then watch the person who's giving a presentation or talking in a room. We also have automatic speech recognition captions. These are speech-to-text apps. Every single person who attends our meetings should have some speech-to-text app activated on their smartphone. Even if you used it 3 times a year, those 3 times a year that you would have to use it would be very important to you. During the pandemic, I could not have survived without a speech-to-text app. I used it in the grocery store. I used it everywhere because everybody has a face mask on. I have had no problems personally with anybody responded negatively. First of all, I love technology, so I'm not inhibited by that. You know, sometimes people can pick up on your fear or trepidation, but I self-identify as being a person with hearing loss. I say I have hearing loss. I have difficulty with, and tell them what it is. I used a mask earlier, so I have difficulty. I can't understand people in face masks. I have a speech-to-text app on my phone. I have it open. I show it to them. They can see the text streaming. And this is how I'm going to understand what you say, because I can't understand with a face mask. Whenever I have done that, the people who I am speaking to are blown out of the water that technology exists. They are going, oh, I can't believe that. That's wonderful. Oh, you know, on and on and on. The app that I use is called Ava. Of all of the speech-to-text apps, it's the most robust. It works on your computer. It works on an iPad. It works on an Android. It works on an Apple. It works as a floating screen on your smartphone. Live Transcribe is an Android product, only works on Android. Something else that I forgot to mention about Ava is the only speech-to-text app that allows more than one person to be in a conversation at a time. So all of the other apps, all it has is what that one microphone on that one phone can hear. And it's just a running dialogue of whatever's being said. Ava is different. Ava, you can have a conversation over distance. So Jim, who has the right here, thank you. Jim could have Ava on his phone. He could be in the restaurant here. He could send me an invitation via Ava about something that's happening in the restaurant that he wanted to talk to me about, and it would work. So see, it's a conversation. So when you're looking at the app and it's open, there are round circles at the top. Every single person who is connected via their own cell phone to the app has a circle with their picture in it. Okay, Live Transcribe is very accurate. People who have Android phones are very fond of it. That's another option for you. Otter is something that some other people like, and Otter was not created for the hearing loss community. Otter was created for the business community because everybody was having a terrible time. Here you're on all of these video conference meetings and everything, and while you're trying to watch the person and everything else, you're trying to take notes. Well, so they invented Otter so you don't have to take notes. So it was invented as a note taker for business people. I give presentations all over the United States to other chapters as well. And when I gave a presentation to the Albuquerque chapter, one of the people in that meeting, one of the speech-to-text apps that they happened to like was called Speechy. And I had not heard of that before. So that's here as another option for you. And the new kid on the block is Apple Live Captions. So, and it's a new kid on the block because Ava was one of the forerunners, and by now it must be their original work that they started doing must be almost 10 years ago. And it's only been like in the last couple of years that we have Apple Live Captions. And at first the captions for that app weren't very accurate, but I'm finding that they're more and more accurate all the time. One of the things that I don't like about it for sure is I haven't been able to figure out how to adjust the size of the captions. So it's only whether I have a small window or whether I open it up full screen, the size of the captions is all the same. So if somebody knows something that I don't know about that, please let me know. So I wanted to give you an overview. I wanted everybody to be reinforced again about the technologies and things that are available to you. We'll maybe do it again this year. Don't feel bad about yourself if it seemed like it was a lot of information. It is a lot of information. Hearing loss is a life-changing experience and requires us to adjust. All of the people who are in this meeting, who are long-term members, everybody's here to help you. And we're here to help you because we experience the same thing you do. So Jim has a microphone. We're going to pass a microphone for questions and answers. Everybody has to talk into the microphone for the hearing loop to work. This picture that you see here, I really like this picture. It's a reminder for all of us what it really took to get the ADA passed. The debt of gratitude we owe the people who came before us. The only way that law got passed in America, which is shameful, is because people like this young woman who had mobility issues had to climb on her hands and knees up the steps of the Capitol in Washington. And our legislators were shamed. So that's how we got to where we are. We owe them. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Oh, come on, don't be shy. Do you have a question about something else? Yes, please, Bruce.
Mentioned Dr. Cliff
Yes.
activity. How does one access?
Dr. Cliff is a YouTube, and so is a hearing tracker. So do you know how to use a YouTube? Okay, so in the search window, put Dr. Cliff or hearing tracker, and I actually believe on our website in the footer, we have both Dr. Cliff and hearing trackers link. So if you go to our website and go to the bottom, just click on it and it should take you there. And you can, if you sign up for their hearing tracker, for sure, if you sign up to track them, every time that they put a new video out, every time they review something, you'll get a notice in your email. It's really wonderful. You can either ignore it or watch it.
You should just travel do everything.
It is what has the information. There's not another real account. So if you have points, there's nothing in the points account that has any, oh, that could be something you could ask your airline for. I don't like to have to keep doing this. When I use my points account, can I do it once and be done with it? Did you print out the card? So you need to print the card. And when we went to the convention last year, I always put on there, I'm hard of hearing. I always ask ahead of time. And if you do that, if they ever bump people off the flight, you will not get bumped. Okay, so this is a card. It's on the TSA's website. You print the card, and I gave a presentation to the East Bay chapter about this. If you're interested in that, it's not a huge presentation, but and we could talk about that later, or maybe I'll just copy some and have them around for next time. So what was really nice is that I really used to have a terrible time with TSA. I could not understand anything that they were saying. And so then, it's about security. And so then, when things are a little out of the ordinary, then they start getting a little nervous. So if I pulled out my card and it says TSA cares on the back, it's their card. And if you contact TSA 24 hours ahead of time, maybe even a little longer than that, they'll have a person at the airport there to take you through TSA.
So, I think you can get it forward. If you go to the, they are engaged. They'll let you on.
Okay, so this is what happened at the convention on the way home. So I had put on my ticket that I needed hearing assistance. When that happens, when I made my reservation. So when that happens, when your ticket gets printed or every time they pull up your ticket, they don't have a differentiation between a mild hearing loss. It says deaf. I'm perfectly fine. So it says I'm deaf. Doesn't mean that they catch it when I go to check in at the gate or whatever, but I go to the gate, talk to the agents at the gate. I tell them that I'm hard of hearing and I cannot understand the announcements. And I'd like to pre-board. No problem. Great. When they call pre-boards, please join them. So I was with other HLAA people and they didn't understand how all this worked. So they were ahead of me and the agents asking them if they needed assistance. And they're thinking assistance applied to mobility. So they're saying, no. I'm going, oh, okay. So he said, well, I can't do anything for you if you don't need assistance. So this was going on, finally they got frustrated and left. I walk up, give him my name, looks at my thing, it says I'm deaf. Great, go right ahead. And I said, oh, I happen to be with those people who were in front of me. And I said, we're all hard of hearing. Nobody can understand this. And then this person got a little defensive, says, but I was asking them. And he was asking them. But they hadn't accepted, they hadn't embraced that they needed assistance, because they were hard of hearing. So then I said, well, they really do need assistance. They just didn't understand. They came back up. He said, fine. So then when we had this presentation about the East Bay chapter invited, I think there were 5 of us to be panelists for a chapter meeting. That was part of what I talked about. So if anybody ever says to you, you said, I'm hard of hearing, do you need assistance? You absolutely say yes. Okay, and then you can pre-board. Come on.
I'd like to add a comment about Ava. Ava at first had hearing aids, hopefully reply now. And I found it frustrating, I still find it frustrating to be looking at my phone, because then I'm not looking at the person. And there is so much to hearing, as you already mentioned, lip reading, but body language and facial expression as well, that helps with the hearing. And if you're looking at your phone, you automatically use that. Still, it's a wonderful technology.
So John, there are two pieces that I have as suggestions for you. We have a large, then if I move it, we have a large stand. It's like this, and it comes up like that, and you can put an iPad on it or a phone. And whenever we do an outreach event, we always have that with Ava running so that everybody who comes up can see what this is like. You can use that at a table facing you so that you can see out. There also are other iPhone, iPad stands that are more portable. I have a little plastic one that's kind of like an A-frame thing, and it sits up. It's not like the big stand. It sits up, oh, a little bit like this. So at least I'm not completely looking down, right? I can look at the kind of the top of it and still look at the person's face. So those are things that you might want to be interested, look into. So I'm hoping we can get Ava come give a presentation. They just added some new features to their app, and they contacted me right before Christmas, and I responded back, and they're not back to the office until the 6th. So hopefully we'll get that.
I'm also going to go for no caption.
Okay, so Caption is not like Ava. There's a difference between a speech-to-text app and a speech-to-text phone app. And we have Captions brochures up here. How many people in this room have a captioning phone? Why don't the rest of you have a captioning phone? So that's a question to you. I need to know why.
I have one, that came late.
Oh, okay, so you have one. So why don't, the people who don't have a captioning phone, why don't you have a captioning phone? Okay, so that's the reason you came today, if nothing else. So Caption exists on your cell phone. It's wonderful. So I have mine set up, and there's more than one. There's Caption, there's Sorensen. Those are the two premier companies, and they compete back and forth with technology. So at the moment, I believe Caption has the premier features. Somebody calls my cell phone, my regular cell phone number forwards it to my Caption number. This is happening behind the scenes. So my phone rings, Caption pops up. I connect to Caption via Bluetooth in my hearing instrument. So the auditory sound is coming directly to me, which most of the time for me is wonderful. But we have hearing loss. We can't ever predict when we're going to understand and hear and when we're not. We can't predict when that person's going to have an accent. We can't predict which accent is the one that we can understand. We can't predict if we can understand a French man talking, but not a French woman. So I like to be prepared. So I am prepared, and Caption has no problems with the accents. So I'm listening to whatever I want, and whatever I don't understand, it's just captioning. Thanks, John.
Yeah, one comment about that. What I find really nice, I always know. So it rings directly in my my instrument, and it answers the phone. And while I'm talking to whoever it is, I'm looking for my phone. And then pretty good.
So we have some Caption brochures. I don't know whether if people have already taken them today. So we don't always put everything out. Sometimes if we're running low, but I thought that there were like at least 10 of them.
I think there is.
So if somebody wants an Caption brochure, please let us know. We think it's in here somewhere. And there's a QR code on it too. It's a INNOCAPTION. And we have Ava cards here. All you have to do is scan the QR code if you were interested in using them. Something that I run into recently is that I love technology. I'm always fiddling, futzing with something. So if you have Apple Live Caption turned on, and you had, Ava turned on, they can conflict with each other. So you can't have two captioning apps, not the telephone, the apps, activated at the same time because they're both competing for the microphone. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we don't have any other news, comments, and if you think of something else in a minute, please let me know. We have some announcements. Of course, we meet the first Saturday of the month, every month for the remainder of the year. I see John. Oh, I didn't update this slide. John, go ahead.
Can you cast?
I can, but it's, let's finish the announcements and then I'll talk about it after. Okay, two future dates are May 18th, which is a Sunday, and that's the Walk for Hearing. We're wanting to make sure everybody knows ahead of time to put it on their calendar, and you really need to come. It's a wonderful event. The other event is the HLA convention, which this year it's earlier. It's June 11th through the 14th, and it's going to be in Indianapolis. Yes, Alan.
There's a question.
What I'm understanding, there's a Zoom question. Uh-huh.
Jane?
Hello. So I wanted to let you know that we on Zoom can't hear what the questions are of the participants in the room. So if you could repeat them, that would be great. And your question about why don't we use live captions on our phone? I think my answer is, I don't know how. I don't know how to find it. I've never done it, so I'm clueless.
Okay, so we can hear you in the room, but I don't know who it is.
It's Jane Nielsen.
Okay, Jane, contact me after this meeting. I'll set up a Zoom meeting with you and walk you through how to connect all that.
Oh, thank you.
And my address is, my first name is Ann. So it's A Thomas at hearing loss, D as in dog, V as in Victor for DiabloValley.org.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the HLA convention, and the convention is really fabulous, especially if you're new to hearing loss. There are 500 to 1,000 people there, all in the same situation you are. You absolutely are not alone. You will make friends, people all across the country who are your hearing loss buddies. You can commiserate with. You can share personal things that you connect, and you don't have to worry about the difficulties we have communicating. So I encourage everybody to think about going, and we'll have more information as we get closer. We have two committees. Zohair is the chair of the programs committee, and I'm the chair of the advocacy committee. If you're interested in either one, we welcome you to join us. On the programs committee, we meet once a month on a Wednesday afternoon around 4 o'clock via Zoom. We have a YouTube channel. Most of our meetings from when the pandemic started are on our YouTube channel. If there's something that you missed, please feel free to go back and look at it. We have an excellent presentation about cochlear implants from Kurt Kramer, who's a UCSF audiologist on there, if anybody's interested in CIs. We need to remind everybody. Hearing loss is a disability under the ADA. And this is still last year's ADA logo because they haven't released the 2025 one yet. Usually it doesn't come out until the end of January. So I'm just letting you know about that. And what that means to us, you have to ask for communication access. Carol talked to me about going to the movie in Pleasant Hill and having problems with the devices there. And I've used the devices there and didn't have a problem with them. So we have to go back and talk to them. And actually, maybe we'll see if they'll come give us a presentation about how to use the glasses. I mean, how to use the cups with the captions. And where do you ask for communication access? Everywhere. Susan, nice to see you, by the way.
Thank you. I have a theater. Really, I think, luck with them. One time they were great, but the time I had to get up and again. Initially, they were giving me.
Yeah, coupons.
They didn't, and I didn't bother to ask, but you never know until the movie starts. And by then, when you get up and go down to get it, aisles down the aisle, it's the beginning of the movie. So I'm not sure if it's a battery problem or they don't take care
Yeah.
of them or what, but it's been sporadic.
Yeah, so
that's pretty
Susan,
much
what we need to do is we need to contact them. Now I know there are two of you. We can say multiple members of our chapter have been coming and your devices don't work. They need to be fixed. Okay, and so then maybe we can have a group of us go and see what's going on. Okay. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, Jim.
Auracast.
Oh, okay, so I can't remember whether we said 11:30 or 11:45 for our captioner. If our captioner has to leave at 11:30, please feel free to go. If we set it up for 11:45, it's wonderful if you stay. We have a question from the audience about Auracast. So I was very fortunate to sit on the Auracast Bluetooth SIG as an HLAA representative. All of you, they have wonderful information online. They have a newsletter that comes out all the time about information about it. I encourage you to sign up. Auracast is an assistive listening system that's coming. Okay, Carol, I see that you have a question. What's the question? Wait a minute, you have to wait for the microphone.
I just missed the second part of the Auracast. I missed the second word you said.
Okay, so Auracast is an expanded version of Bluetooth. So Bluetooth, as we all know it, has been one-to-one. It's either your smartphone to your hearing aid, your laptop to your printer. All of these things are one-to-one. The hearing aid manufacturers every manufacturer of any size in the world belongs to Bluetooth Special Interest Group. It's a member organization of all the manufacturers in the world. So the hearing aid manufacturers approached their own organization and said, listen, we all have proprietary Bluetooth because of the problems with Bluetooth. We want a Bluetooth for all. So 8 years ago, they started working on this. So a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, it's called a codex. It's like the formula for how they connect electronically. The codex was available. So then the whole piece, the next part was to have to get manufacturers to install it in their devices. Slowly, it's rolling out. There's 2 hearing aids that are Auracast capable. 1 cochlear implant is capable. Now, capable doesn't mean it works right now. They're going to have a firmware update. There is no Auracast transmitter installed in a public location yet. Ampetronic and Listen Technologies have partnered. Their device is called Ori, and they are trying to get some locations with Auracast in the early part of the year. Auracast and other assistive listening technologies are going to coexist with each other for at least 10 years. So if you think of how frequently do you get a new hearing aid, maybe it's every 5 years. So how often do these cycles turn over so that everyone who would need an assistive listening technology would be able to access the system? I have used Auracast as a demo at the HLA convention with the receiver and a neck loop. Oh, might have had headphones. And it was fine. I liked it. But this isn't testing in the wild. So, John, you asked about Auracast. It's in development. That's what I would say. So there's nothing wrong with, everybody has to have an assistive listening system now. They can't install Auracast, it's not here yet. So the language is, you have your assistive listening system. Later, if you wanted to, you could add Auracast. Now, one of the pieces that those of us in the hearing loss community who are advocates and are really informed about hearing loss technology, we feel that people without hearing loss are going to be the people who are really going to be demanding and pushing the Auracast technology forward, because what's going to happen is it's going to be in airports. So you're going to have well, and we still don't exactly know how it's all going to connect, right? But part of the idea is there can be a QR code. You scan the QR code for your gate, and people with regular hearing cannot understand anything in the airport either. So we think we can't understand, well, neither can they. Nobody can understand that. So the code, if you change the gates, theoretically might change with the gate. So the thinking is that it's going to be a streaming technology to you. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's exciting. I mean, for me, it's really, really exciting. I keep saying, I hope I live long enough to be able to benefit by it. John, was there something else that you wanted to know? No, that's good. Okay, Jim.
One thing about the now, target population isn't just people with hearing. It will be available for anybody who has hearing. And so the market for this will just be huge. It will be everybody, every kid, every teenager who has earbuds and they're listening to their phone or whatever they're streaming. This will work for them too.
John, I need to clarify something. You asked about Auracast, and I only expressed one part of Auracast, and that's Auracast broadcast audio. There's another part of Auracast that's sharing. So right now, if you are listening to a song on your smartphone and you want somebody else to listen to it, either they have to borrow your earbuds or, well, you're going to be able to share it directly with Auracast. So you're going to be able to share the song that you have, the song, the video, whatever you have, with multiple other people in your area. Pretty amazing, huh? That you invite. Okay, so listen, everybody. We need to hear from you. We need to hear what you would like the presentations to be for the next year. We need to hear what information you'd like to know about hearing loss. We'd like to know if you are interested in doing any field trips. One of the things we explored was going to the Lindsay Museum. and a group of us went to check out what kind of accommodations we had there. We don't know whether any of you would be interested. So we don't want to pick out of a hat, assuming that we know everybody. We could all go to the theater and ask for accommodations. Whatever we can dream up, we can do. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd like to thank our captioner for the captions. As always, they're just wonderful, and I can't thank you enough. Oh, this is funny. So now that I've taken off screen sharing, I can see myself in the Zoom video, but my camera is also picking up me in the room as well. So thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye. Let's save this.